want you guys to think about what makes for a good church service. What makes for a good worship service? And you might say, well, it's the music, right? And these guys did a great job today, right? They did awesome. Might say it's the music and whether the band practices and whether they're good musicians and pick the right songs and that kind of thing. Or you might say, no, it's the message, right? If the preacher's preaching it, right? If he's has the word and has the truth and right, and he's inspiring people, you might say that's what makes for a good church service. You might say, well, if God's in the house, it's going to be a great church service. And sometimes you hear, man, God was in the house that Sunday. God was in the house today. But folks, really, God's always in the house, right? I mean, God doesn't leave the house. God's in the house. God's with us, right? So what makes for a good church service? We get together on Monday, and we ask this every Monday as a staff team, and usually it's you guys. You guys are what make for a good church service. If the congregation is feeling it, if they're connecting, if they're on the same page, if they're participating, if they're awake, right, that makes for a great church service. So what you guys do and what you guys bring to Sunday morning makes a huge difference, right? It's a huge difference, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is that we're created for community. We're created to be in community sharing a cause. And when we all get together here and we're on the same page and we're connected and we're worshiping together, we're in community and we share the same cause. You know, we're created to be in a community. God is in relationship with himself, and he created us to be in relationship with him. And he created us to be purposeful, to have a cause, to have a focus. We're created with meaning and purpose. So when we come together and that happens, it makes for a great church service. But people who aren't in church, they kind of experience community and a cause as well. They call it a concert. How many here have been to a concert before? Almost everybody, right? I want you to think about what was your best concert that you've ever been to, that your favorite concert you've ever been to in your life. You got it? Someone shout out. What's been your favorite concert? What's that? Casting Crowns. What else? I heard some over here. Hugh Jackman. Okay, there you go. What else? Did I hear the Eagles? Wow, there you go. Awesome, awesome. What was that? Brandon Heath. Awesome. Back there. Hannah? Oh, we had Metallica. There we go. I thought Hannah was going to say... So, is it a K-pop band? Yeah, there you go. That's right. All right, so think about the best concert, and there was a reason why that was your best concert, because you were together with your people, right? You were together in community, and you had a common cause. That was that artist. I think about my favorite concert, and I break it up into two categories: favorite concert when I was young, and favorite concert now that I'm old. All right? So favorite concert when I'm young, it was this. Right? Metallica. That's me in 10th grade. That was 1989 when they were doing their Justice Tour. And me and my friends, we camped out overnight. We got front row tickets for $23. And we were front row in that arena singing our favorite songs with all my buddies and thousands of people behind us. And then the singer came down and we sang the chorus of my favorite song together. That was a good concert. But now that I'm old, my wife has inspired me with country music. So we went to the Chris Stapleton concert about a month ago in Charleston, and that was a really good concert. Everyone knew all the lyrics, super talented guy, great sound, and I'd done my homework, so I knew the lyrics too, so that was a really good concert. But nothing beats the spectacle of what I've been seeing with the Taylor Swift World Tour. I mean, look at that, 70,000, mostly women, a couple guys dragged along, right? Mostly women. They know every lyric to every song. I've seen some of the video footage, and these women are living like the best of their lives, right? They are so excited about that. Their front row is $3,500. Everything on the floor was $2,000 and up. Nosebleed section, $850, right? It'll be the first tour to make $1 billion. But there's a reason that we love that stuff, is because we're created for community with a cause. And think about a concert, though. The community is pretty surface level, right? I mean, you don't know all these people, right? You don't know who they are. You don't know their ups and downs, what they've been through. You don't know their names. You don't know anything about these people. So it's kind of on the surface level of community. And the cause, I mean, it's just an artist, right? It's just a mere human being, right? An artist, they might be a good artist, but it's just, that's the cause, right? So pretty surface level community, pretty surface level cause. What happens when you go deep and you have a deep community with a great cause? That is life-changing, right? A concert, that's a good experience. That's fun, right? But a deep community with a great cause, a community where you know people's names, you know their ups and downs, you're walking with people, and a cause that, hey, this is the church. The cause is the cause, right? It's the most important cause in the world, the gospel of Jesus. That's what the church is. It's a deep community with a great cause, and it is absolutely life-changing. Let me share with you a little bit of what that looks like when we took a little bunch of our water lifers and we went to Guatemala. There's our group. We went to Guatemala a couple months ago. This was a diverse group. I love it when it's a diverse group because we're a diverse church. We got all kinds of different ages and stages. We've got students, kids are over there on the other side of the building. We've got all kinds of different professions. And this group was really diverse, from 8th grade to 68 years old, grandparents and grandkids, families, singles, college students, the whole bunch all wrapped up together. And man, what I love as a pastor is when we're on a team together and I see different people using their gifts to their fullest potential, and we're all sharing the same cause. That's community, deep community with a cause. And I'll give you an example of that. Rachel is one example. She's a counselor by trade. She loved meeting people and praying with people. So one day we'd go out and we'd have food baskets to hand out. We partnered with Pastor Roberto at his church, and he said, here are the poorest people in our community. We're going to bring them food, and we're going to pray for them and get to know them. And Rachel, she loved doing that. And in fact, all her team, they talked later on our debrief about how powerful of a prayer Rachel prayed for this lady. At the end of the day, we were supposed to visit 6 families. Their team only visited 2 because they stayed 2 hours at each place just getting to know people and praying for them. That was pretty powerful. We had our communicators. We had Phil, who's preached before, who's pastored a church before. He was communicating through a translator, did a great job, got to do that several times through the week. And then we had Pagelin, one of our college students. I heard her speaking to the VBS kids, and I went, wow, she is really gifted in communication. So we gave her more and more opportunities, and lo and behold, she has a real gift in communicating to people. We had our construction guys, and they were doing a renovation project. We always do a project over there. They were building a drop ceiling in the church, but it was a pitched drop ceiling, so it was pretty technical. And it would have taken, I've done that before, it would have taken me a month. They had 3 days to do it. They had to source the materials, come up with a plan, install it in that church, and they did amazing. They didn't think they were going to be able to finish because they didn't have a translator to help them on that last day. But I said, these guys have got to finish. I went to our team leader and said, we need to find a translator. These guys are so bummed that they can't finish. And we found a translator for them, and it was like Christmas Day. They were allowed to finish the project of renovate. They were so excited about that, and they finished it with excellence. It was absolutely amazing. And then we had our sporty people. We had a whole bunch of sporty people who did games with the VBS kids, and they just love sports. And at the end of our trip, the Guatemalan church challenged Waterlife to a soccer game, or a football game, they would call it, right? And I think they did it just to kick some American butt. I think that was their plan, right? But they didn't know us. We were competitive, and we were sporty. And we recruited our bus driver, who we called a water lifer, even though he was just our bus driver. He also ended up being, used to play on the national Guatemala team for soccer, so we recruited him onto our side. But we had an incredible team. We had 2, Katie, middle schooler, Grayson, high schooler. Grayson scored half the goals. Our superstar guy scored the other half. We ended up tying them up. It was absolutely amazing. One of the best part was watching Katie. Here she is. Katie, she played a lot of soccer. She was headed for the ball, and this Guatemalan guy was headed for the ball, and they were not going to give up. They were going to get that ball, right? And they just collided midfield, and it was like a gasping collision, right? The audience, we had a whole audience watch that thing, and the guy goes down. Katie kicks the ball to someone else and reaches down and says, "Hey, come on, let's go," and pulls him back up again. I mean, she was unstoppable. That was a lot of fun. Our sporty people had a part to play in our mission. It was a great game. We loved bonding with those guys, and we tied them. That was amazing. And our artsy people, right? Ansley, she was someone who is into drama. She's into dance and all that. And this is her acting in front of VBS.
Oh, girls. Oh, I'm so happy. Congratulations. Congratulations. We're so happy.
This is when she becomes a Christian in the play. Yeah, no hand in cartwheel. So that's all. She was so animated. That was just her gift. She was born for the stage. She's an artsy person. And I'd go on and tell you about all our people, but I don't have time. But just let me tell you about two more. Julia and Lonnie have the gift of evangelism. And it helps that they're both fluent in Spanish. Right? Julie is actually from Guatemala. They're both part of our church. Lonnie's a high schooler here, goes to H2O students. Julia works with Waterlife Kids. She works with H2O students as well. And here she is. She's just preaching just the gospel in front of 300 public school students. Our mission and a partner, we paid for these students to have a field trip. We bussed them over to a park. We had inflatables for them. We had lunch for them. It was awesome. And they said, feel free just to share the gospel with those kids. And we did, and hundreds of kids came up and accepted Christ in school, right? Isn't that awesome? And it was so great because we were a community with different gifts, different ages and stages, working together on a goal, and it was absolutely amazing. Jesus sent his followers out to be the church. That's us, a deep community with a great cause. In the next 3 months, I'm going to give one message a month on how Jesus sent the church, how Jesus sent his followers. Today I'm going to talk about how he sent us together. And then the next time I'm going to talk about how he sent us with a plan, a blueprint, a strategy to share the gospel. And then after that, I'll share with how he sent us to serve. He sent us to serve people. But today, how he sent us together. And if you have your Bibles, you can turn to Matthew chapter 9. We're going to look at Matthew chapter 9 and 10. And we're going to look at a specific section where Jesus sent his followers together. Starting at verse 35. And the context here is that Jesus is halfway through his ministry. He's about 32 years old, and he's already developed all his disciples. He's got this momentum. He's got a crowd following him. And this verse just summarizes what he did with his disciples and with that crowd. Matthew chapter 9, verse 35 and 36. It says, Jesus went. He went through all the towns and villages, and what did he do? He was teaching in their synagogues. He was proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and he was healing every disease and sickness. And when he saw the crowds, because crowds were following him in all these towns and villages, when he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them, because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. The first thing we notice is that Jesus went. Jesus went. Now, most rabbis in that time, if he would have followed the human route, he would have gone to Jerusalem. He would have kind of camped out there and called people to come to him, because that was the center of power and the center of religion. And he would have become a great politician and a great leader in this kind of earthly kingdom. But that was not his plan. He didn't say, I'm going to go here and everyone come to me. He went to people. He was moving. He was walking. Him and his disciples, they put miles in. They went to the people. And what did they do? Jesus taught, right? Jesus was the most amazing teacher of all time. They said they were amazed at the authority that he taught with. And what did he do? He came to bring clarity, because the Jewish people were lost, right? They were lost. They didn't know where this Messiah was that they had been promised. They weren't looking for someone like Jesus. They were harassed and they were helpless. They were under the Roman rule, right? The leaders weren't much good because the leaders, if they weren't corrupt, they just didn't know. A lot of the religious leaders just didn't know. They didn't know what was coming and what it would look like and what was next. They didn't know what to do. So Jesus had compassion. He taught with authority, and he brought clarity and direction to his people. What else did he do? He proclaimed the good news. He proclaimed it. Now, he talked some about bad news, and the bad news is sin. And there was plenty of that. But the people, they were living in sin. He didn't have to really point it out even to them that much because they knew about the predicament that they were in. They knew the sin that was going on and the fact that they were struggling. So Jesus proclaimed the good news. He was the long-awaited Messiah. The kingdom was coming. And under his reign, the old way of trying to earn your way to God by all these different laws and rules, that was fine for the time, but that was temporary and that was changing. The good news is Jesus came to offer grace and freedom that would be unlimited for everybody who would choose to follow him. That was the good news. And he went healing. Jesus didn't just talk about compassion. He just didn't have it from his heart. He would actually reach out to people. Jesus didn't just talk about it. He did compassion. Jesus physically showed us that God is love. He came down to show us what that looked like. And he showed that physically to people around him. Jesus would heal people. And I love it how he talks about how they're like lost sheep. Because Jesus is taking from that Old Testament theme that we hear so often that David talked about, right? David was a shepherd of actual sheep. And then when David became king, he said, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down by green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul." That's what David said, "The Lord is my shepherd." And Jesus said, "I am the shepherd, and you are the sheep." Jesus came to heal. He came to heal people. And what I love about it is that he not only went, but he sent as well. So Jesus went, and then he sent. Verse 37 of Matthew 9 says this. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few." He was looking around to those crowds of lost sheep, those people who were struggling. He said, "Look at the harvest. It's ready. It's ready, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out the workers into his harvest field." Now, I don't know where you grew up, but I grew up in a farming community. And where I grew up, it was just grain fields as far as you could see. I grew up in Canada. It was just flat grain fields, a little community, and everyone was a farmer. And when it was harvest time, it was all hands on deck. Everything stopped at harvest time because you had this small window. You didn't know when the rains would come, when the bugs would come. You just didn't know. But now is harvest time, and those people moved that harvest, right? And they put these huge lights on their tractors, and they would just harvest 24 hours a day. Those tractors would not stop but to just fill in gas and keep moving. And the wives, if they weren't on the tractors, they were at home making meals, and they would drive up in their pickup trucks. The tractor would stop, they'd grab that food, and they would just keep going because the harvest was ready. I know about this a little bit from my garden. How many people have a garden here? A bunch of people have a garden, right? You put so much work into that garden, and when those things are ready, they're ready. You got to go harvest those tomatoes and those zucchini. And for me, everything happens when I'm about to go on a mission trip, right? Because it's almost ready. I've got to go on a mission trip, and I come back, and it's too late. Harvest. Tomatoes are rotten on the vine. Zucchini are 3 feet long. It's just crazy, right? I miss so many harvests because I'm running around in the summertime. But I'm telling you, with your garden, is it worth it? No, it's not. No, I don't think it is. I don't think it's worth it, right? I could go to the farmer's market and get that stuff and not do all the work, right? It would be just as good. But I do it anyways. It's just a lifestyle. It's just what I do. But are the people worth it? Yes, the people are worth it, absolutely. Just like Jesus was saying the harvest is ripe, folks, I believe the harvest is ripe right now. With our church, in our community, in our nation, in our county. I believe it. I believe this is harvest time. And this is a time where we need to be, let's go. Let's go get that harvest in. Did you know today in Caldwell County, there will be 50,000 people not in church? 50,000 people. If I do the 80,000 in Caldwell County, about 30 to 40% are in church today. 50,000 people are not in church today, and I think they should be. Why is that? Why should they be in church? Because a deep community with great cause is life-changing. And do people need their lives changed? Absolutely, right? We see it all around us. People need the life-changing message of Jesus. That's what we do here at church. And the harvest is ready. People sometimes make fun of Water Life a little bit. In good fun. They poke fun at us a little bit. Just like, man, are you going to the rally again? You guys, every Sunday morning is like a rally for you guys. You know, you just, the energy's up to here, right? And you turn up the volume. And I'm just like, yeah, because it's the harvest, people, right? We got to turn up the energy. It's tough to have low energy when you're in harvest time. So yeah, I don't really apologize for turning up the energy. I think it's kind of like go time right now. So we need to go. Let's look at what Jesus did. Jesus said, I'm not going to do it by myself, but I'm going to send you guys. Skip over to Matthew chapter 10, verse 1 and then 5 to 7. Jesus called his 12 disciples and he gave them authority. That's significant. He called his 12 disciples. Guys, come on over here. You see what I was just doing? I was teaching. I was proclaiming the good news. I was healing. That's what I was doing. Now it's your turn. I'm giving you authority and I'm sending you to go do what I showed you to do. Now you are up because you're the workers. You're the church. The harvest is plentiful. It's time to get to work. So then he says in verse 5, and the emphasis here is on go. He says, these 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Now he said this, do not go to the Gentiles just yet, or any town of the Samaritans just yet. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. That's where you start. And as you go, proclaim this message, the kingdom of heaven has come near. Now, the reason they weren't to go to the Gentiles and the Samaritans yet is because his mission had not been accomplished. When Jesus died on the cross and rose again, then he would give them the Great Commission, which I'll talk about next time. And the Great Commission says, go to all the nations, right? But for now, Jesus is saying, let's start with Israel, right? They're the lost sheep right now. When my mission is complete, all the nations are going to be, you're going to need to go to them. So we have been sent with a cause. That is our church. What have we been sent to do? What have we been sent to do? We're called to do what Jesus did. We're called to teach, right? And what is teaching? I think teaching is just bringing clarity to things. A good teacher brings clarity to things. So we're living in a confused world, right? It's always been confused, but it seems sometimes a little extra confused. People just don't know kind of where they're going, right? And I kind of related to driving in the fog. I pastored a church up in Boone for 3 years, and every day I would drive up and down that mountain, and you get kind of in the evening, you get almost out of Blowing Rock, and then halfway down the mountain. Have you ever driven through that fog there? Anybody you've driven? You know that fog, right? There's that fog bank that just sticks there, and when you're driving through that fog and those tight turns, your hands are just gripped to the steering wheel. And fog lights, that didn't help. Brights, that didn't help. You're just going to go slow because you don't know where those turns are coming, and you're on the lookout, and you're tense, right? But after you get past that fog halfway down the mountain, it's just like, and you kind of take your fingers off the steering wheel, right? Breathe a sigh of relief, get up to speed because you can see what's going. You can see the curves coming around. You have vision, you have clarity. So many people, they're just going through life in the fog. They just don't know what's going on. They're going through the same corners, but they don't have the vision to see that, hey, Jesus makes it clear where life is going and what's important and the foundation, the moral foundation I'm going to stand on. Jesus brought clarity, and we're called to bring clarity in how we teach. We can bring clarity. And Jesus, he always liked making it simple. Look what it says in Matthew 22. They asked him, Jesus, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and prophets hang on these two commands, right? Jesus came to make it pretty simple. That's what we need to do. Next thing, Jesus proclaimed the good news, and we need to proclaim the good news. We need to proclaim the good news to people. I think often we look around at people who are making horrible mistakes, and often the first thing that comes to our mind is like, you are so dumb. Like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you make such a bad mistake? Imagine if Jesus looked out and saw all the people, they were helpless and aimless, and Jesus looked out, they're like sheep without a shepherd. Man, are those stupid sheep. Man, I'm so glad Jesus didn't say that, right? He didn't say, like, it serves them right to end up running off a cliff or whatever they're doing. It just serves them right. But instead, Jesus had compassion on them, right? We don't get mad at lost folks for being lost, right? We don't go, oh, you're so stupid for being lost. No, because they're lost, right? Sometimes lost people don't even know that they're lost. Have you ever been lost, like those people before the days of GPS and phones? Anybody ever been lost, like driving? A couple of you guys, right? The older people like me, right? I remember back in the days, I would get lost often because I didn't have a phone and GPS. I remember one time I was driving on a road for an hour in the wrong direction. You know, up there in Canada, there's nothing up there. Everything looks the same, right? No matter what direction, there's no people, right? So I was driving for an hour. Eventually, I came to a gas station. I was just like, I'm looking for this town, and I'm not seeming to find it. And he looks at me and goes, whew, buddy, you are lost, right? And he didn't make me feel stupid. He didn't say, you're so dumb for being lost. But he said, what you need to do is turn around because you're way off and go like 20 miles that way and take a left and go 30 miles that way, and eventually you'll get back on track. Because lost people sometimes don't know that they're lost. But we just need to have compassion on people, right? Instead of pointing out people's mistakes, point out God's grace. God has grace. John 3:17, for God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. And we need to go out and bring healing. We need to go out and bring healing. There is so much division and anger and hurt and sadness in our world. There is so much of that. I think sometimes we need to do a little less talking and a little more doing, right? A little more action, because Jesus didn't talk about having compassion on people who were hurting. He went and did something about it, right? That's what we need to do as a church. That's what we need to do as Christians. We need to do something to bring healing to people's lives. Don't just talk about it. Do something about it. Bring action to it. Jesus was a man of action. He talked the talk, but then he walked the walk. Let's do that. We have been sent together, folks. We've been sent together. And I'm going to give you 3 challenges as we close of what we do with this practically. And just 3 things: commit, connect, and serve. 3 things you can do at church, 3 things you can do in your life. Commit your life to Jesus. Commit your life to Jesus. And in order to commit our lives to Jesus, we have to admit that we're lost without him. And for me, that's easy, right? Because I need God in my life. I know I'm a sinner, right? I know I'm not perfect. I know that. It's easy for me to understand that about myself. I know that I need Jesus. And if you know that you need Jesus, commit your life to him. And many of you have done that, but if you haven't done that, commit your life to him today. That's starting at point number 1. Then number 2, connect to people in relationships. Connect with others in relationships. And I've got a perfect way for you guys to do that coming up. It's if you take your bulletins, take out your bulletins, and you see right on the corner, I did this to someone today, and they're just, I never knew that did that. Now take out your phones. Todd told you to put them away, but take them out, right? Take them out. Take out your phones, and then what you do is you take your camera app, and you point it at that square right there, and you click that, and look at that. Voila! You get our link page, sign up for our life group, and there's all our life groups that we have open right now. There's a whole bunch of them on there. You guys can't see that, but there it is. You guys are on your own phones, and you can just sign up for them right there. We've got life groups for newcomers, life groups for young, like 25 and under, 25 and older. We've got a new life group for single people, which is we've been wanting to do for a long time. We've got a new women's Bible study group that's starting up. We've got a Water Life Adventures. We've got a men's breakfast group, weekly men's breakfast devotion group. It's all on there. Here is your opportunity to sign up. Retirees, we got Water Life Adventures down there. We got a group starting in the Coves, man. And then we've got as well, scroll down, we got our large group meetings down there. Todd's starting a new Wednesday night series. It's on there. Monthly large group, man camp, young adults. It's all on there. If you want community, deep community, it's what we're created for. There you go. Sign up. It starts in 2 weeks, but sign up is now. So there you go. Very practical, you guys. One more thing. Serve. Go find a place to serve at Water Life Church. Commit to Jesus. Connect in relationships. Serve at Water Life Church. I like what Jim Collins says. He wrote this book, From Good to Great, one of the greatest leadership books of all time, one of the most famous. He said, if you get the right people on the bus and in the right seats, then we'll figure out how to take it someplace great. When it comes to serving, we want you to find your seat in serving at Water Life. And we have so many opportunities. You know, we have over 350 volunteers, and we're still short volunteers. Mark and the production team, he would love to talk to you about production. We need a couple more H2O small group leaders. There's a lot of opportunities to serve. Folks, we've been sent together. It's what we're created to do. It's where we're going to find the most meaning. I'm going to ask us to stand as I close in prayer. And we're going to do something a little different. Because we're sent together, we're going to do something symbolic of being together. I'm going to ask you, as I close in prayer, just reach out and put your hand on someone's shoulder. You know, grab them by the hand, lock arms, whatever you do, just touch someone beside you. Come on over. Can't be on your own here in church. So, yeah, we are sent together, and we're touching and agreeing with that this morning. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this incredible body of believers, this congregation, this community that is deep. God, I pray that you would help us to take our depth, our knowledge of each other, our community, our relationships to another level. God, if there's someone here who hasn't committed their life to you to start with, God, we can do that today. We can do that by admitting that we need you. God, I need you in my life. I believe you died on the cross. You rose again for the forgiveness of my sins. I confess my sins to you, God, and I dedicate my life to following you. Come into my life, Holy Spirit. And God, if we've prayed that, we've taken a step into a relationship with you. And God, we're meant to be in a relationship with each other as well. So God, as we go forward, I pray for a deeper community this fall. I pray for a more clear cause this fall, God, that we go out and we take seriously the harvest that is right in our midst. God, send out the workers. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, thanks for coming today. We will see you next week. Have a great afternoon.